was told the true definition of a man was to never cry, work till you're tired, got to provide, always be the rock for my fam, protect them by all means, and give you the things that you need, baby. Our relationship is suffering, trying to give you what I never had. You say I don't know how to love you, babe. Well, I say show me the way. I keep my feelings deep inside, I shadow them with my pride. I'm trying desperately, baby, just work with me. Show me the way to surrender my heart. Girl, I'm so lost. Yeah. Teach me how to love. Yeah. How I can get my emotions involved. Yeah. Teach me.
Man, part of being a man is opening up, but yet I'm having my own hard time. As an example, my dad is one of my best friends. And he expresses his love. He's like the most loving man ever. But when was the last time you like dropped in and went like let's get really vulnerable together?
I'm not that transparent.
I've always been a transparent person, but I think going to therapy over the past year and some changes made me more vulnerable. Or maybe it's not even just therapy. Maybe it's the fact of, you know, just turning 40 this year, you know, being a father of three young girls now, you know, being married. Like, I just think life has made me more vulnerable, more in touch with my feelings, so to speak. But I mean, that goes to, you know, how we was raised in a lot of ways. A lot of times we were raised to be cold, to be shut off, to be hardcore, to have our chest out, to not trust people. Like, if you show people, you know, your feelings and your vulnerabilities, a lot of times they'll use that against you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Latino men, we grew up in households that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
You know, and that for me, I relate vulnerability as weakness. And it has affected my past relationships. They're like, yo, you're not vulnerable. It's because when I do, I get uncomfortable and I close myself off.
I remember in college when my abuelita died, my instinct was not to cry, was not to show emotion. My instinct was to shut off, go stoic. Not really talk to anybody, not really show any emotion. I didn't start crying until like 10 years later during an LSD trip. And so that's one of the things that to me, it's like you bottle it in, you bottle the emotion in, and you hide it.
You hide it.
Be the rock for my fam, protect them by all means, and give you the things that you need, baby. Our relationship is suffering, trying to give you what I never had. You say I don't know how to love you, babe. Well, I say show me the way. I keep my feelings deep inside, I shadow them with my pride. I'm trying desperately, baby, just work with me. Show me the way to surrender my heart. Girl, I'm so lost. Yeah. Teach me how to love. Yeah. How I can get my emotions involved. Yeah. Teach me, show me how to love. Show me the way to surrender my heart. Girl, I'm so lost. Teach me how to love.
I think one of the other strongest traits that I have seen in leaders, people that have most made a difference in my life and in large organizations, is they have this, obviously this strong drive and their strong personalities, but they combine that with a willingness to make themselves vulnerable to other people's strengths.
Gentlemen, we can stand to be more vulnerable. Okay, all right. So this morning, we were having a conversation on the phone on our prayer line with all the men this morning, and we were saying that, like, for real, don't hide from your natural self. Don't hide from who God has called you to be. Don't hide from that burning desire in your heart to do a particular thing. And I think a lot of the times we are not the fullness of who we were called to be, or we don't operate in the fullness of how we are wired. Why? Because we could stand to be a little bit more vulnerable. Now, I get it, right? I get how we were wired and how we were brought up. We were, you know, taught to, like, for real, always man up, never show your feelings, never show your emotions. And to be honest with you, I believe that that's counterproductive to the marriage relationship.
Is there a difference with weakness and vulnerability?
See, I actually think that vulnerability is the best measure of courage. And throughout our lives, we're conditioned to believe that vulnerability is a sign of weakness. But look at the women who stood up to Harvey Weinstein. And that paved the way for a global movement for all women to stand up against aggression of power in all sorts of economic and social systems, right? So I actually believe that how we navigate through our vulnerability dictates our ability to connect. And that's what's missing in the world. There's a lack of empathy. And what's going on now is that there's shame everywhere. But once you're able to nurture empathy within yourself and within other people, it creates a hostile environment for shame.
I was always taught to be strong. Never let them think you care at all. Let no one get close to me before you and me. I done shared things with you, girl, about my past that I'd never tell to anyone else. Just keep it to myself. Girl, I know I lack affection and expressing my feelings. It took me a minute to come and admit this, but see, I'm really trying to change now. Wanna love you better, show me how. I'm trying desperately, baby, please work on me.
In order to get through tough times, in order to get through the fear, we need other people.
Have to.
But the
biological and anthropological imperative.
But you know, isn't it ironic that during those times, at least personally, the opposite feeling occurs. I want to go back inside my shell.
Of course.
Whether it's, I feel shame or it's too painful or risky to stick my neck out. And I think, and I speak from personal experience, that I just want to journey alone, to carry the burden alone.
So I mean, yes, we feel vulnerable, and so we don't want to expose ourselves to further vulnerability, whether it's humiliation or the real opportunity of failure, the real chance of failure. And so we close in, we put our walls up, and we work to protect ourselves. The irony is it does more damage.
Yeah.
And it's when we can make ourselves vulnerable, when we can expose ourselves to someone and still feel safe and know that they will keep us safe, that's where the opportunity and the courage comes.
What vulnerability looks like for people when we talk about strategies, it starts with self first and foremost, right? So one of the things that I do, again, we start our day operating from a place of shame. If the alarm goes off and we don't wake up, right, we start off in an emotional deficit. And so one of the things that I do as far as being vulnerable, I allow myself to feel. Right? I say literally to myself, it's okay to feel this way. Right now, I don't shut myself off. Other strategies that I do, I write about what I'm feeling. Right? I write down exactly what that emotion is that I'm experiencing at that moment in time. So then when I need to reflect on it, I can. When we talk about, shame and just the idea of shame, it's difficult to navigate, right? Because again, that comes from having an increased level of self-awareness.
We have glamorized aggression, and there's nothing wrong with it. And what I realized is that I was substituting my anger, my resentment, and my bitterness on my father by playing football. Because football provided me this safe space. It provided me this outlet. And many of you, I'm sure, as men, you have outlets, whether healthy or unhealthy. And football was my outlet. And when football came to an end, because this was my coping mechanism, I no longer had the opportunity to be able to cope in this space where I felt free, and that's what led to the suicide attempts, because I did not feel valuable. I did not feel like I had purpose because football had become everything. And when I started to go in therapy and peeling back the layers, and I want to make sure I echo this to every man in this room today, I challenge you. Go and visit the place that hurt you. Go back to that place. There's no amount of money, there's no amount of success, there's no amount of women, there's no amount of anything that can fix where you're hurting. And what we have done is we have adopted this Superman complex, and I'm going to take this from the great Alfred Edmond Jr., is he always says is just because Superman can take a bullet doesn't mean that he has to. So we have adopted this mindset that we feel that we have to be strong.
Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for many blessings that you've given us. Father God, I ask that you bless us through as we nurture it. Allow our body and process accordingly, Father God. Father God, we ask that you continue to bless us and guide us in your name. Amen.
Teach me how to love. Show me the way to survive.